Welcome back to another workbench special. You may recall the London South Western Terrier, which seemed to have a defective motor in that it couldn't start gently and so do good shunting. And we took a look at the motor and found that it just couldn't start gently. It flew into action. So I've been giving it some extensive running in whilst waiting for the new motors to arrive. So let's just see if there's any difference. I'll gradually increase the controller. No, as you see, flies into action. A little bit better backwards, but can't crawl. Once it gets going, it's not a great deal of problem. But I think having got some new motors, I'd like to see if we can find a better one. There's an interesting story with the motors, which I'll tell you about next. Okay, so two parcels arrived for me today. One from Lendon's of Cardiff, and one all the way from China. So we'll open the Lendon's of Cardiff one because we know what we're expecting there, and that is a number of Hornby motors. There they are, the little tiny things all in their packet, X7 420. And Lendon's charged me a grand total of £18.52 for 4 motors. They were just over £4 each, and just a £2 postage. Not bad, eh? Now I've seen online other people selling this exact same motor assembly with a little worm on and that for £10 and £5.99 postage. I'm sorry, I don't think Lendon's is running a charity. They're making a little bit of profit as well, but what they're doing is supplying it at a reasonable value that people can afford and not fleecing you with the postage. I'm not going to say any more on that because it's quite annoyed me though. I think, you know, shop around. I definitely recommend Lendon's. I found them very helpful, easy to have a chat with if you need to, and I'm very happy with the service. Right, that's, you know, not connected, but they've done me proud. I'm happy with that at a reasonable cost, and I've got 4 motors that can slip into my terriers with very little problem. Now the Chinese ones are exactly the same motor, but what you don't get is the little plastic wrap round. You don't get the worm, but otherwise they're an identical motor. Perhaps I should open one of the Hornby ones for you so you can have a look to keep it safe. So there we are, there's the Hornby one, and you can see that that is going to fit exactly inside that little package, and the tabs are virtually the same. Now this one has got the silvered out end bearing cover, whereas this is the plastic one, but there is a little tiny hole in it which I think may be a lubricating hole. We'll have to see, but other than that you can see they're identical. Now the difference with the Chinese motors, bearing in mind there's no worm, no plastic mount, is that they were 69p each, and I think it was £2 postage as well, and they arrived at the same time. How they did that I don't know, but it just shows you the markup being made when you see things being sold at £10 odd, whereas you can obtain the actual bare bones motor for 69p. Or if you want everything all in one place, nice and easy, you don't have to mess about with the worm, you can obtain it for just over £4 from Lendon's. So I'd highly recommend that as a very easy way of getting your replacement motors if you need them. Rightio, there's one of the Chinese motors. Now you probably can't see, but that shaft is turning and it's ticking over from 0. Interestingly, when I bought these, they say that they have metal brushes, precious metal brushes. So I don't know if that's gold or silver, but not carbon brushes, and I don't think the Hornby ones will have carbon brushes, and I think that's what's happened and what's gone wrong. We'll open the old motor at the end of the service video when I fit the new motor to the Terrier, but these 69p motors are starting ever so gently. Let's try the absolute genuine replacement from Hornby. Right, according to my camera, it's going to track this motor. So let's see, I'm going to gently increase the controller. Oh well, there's the difference. Yes, it can crawl. What I should do is go through all of them that have been sent to me, the 4 Hornby ones, and see which is the best one. Now these haven't been lubricated or anything yet. Straight away it's better than that one that was fitted in the Terrier. So I'm hopeful that I will be able to get a very nice little London South Western shunter at the end of this. So what I'm going to do now then is I'm going to put the Chinese motors to one side. They'll become spares if needed. And I'm going to go through all the nice little Hornby motors from Lendon's and see if I can find one that's absolutely top quality to fit. So my tests are done. I did it by finding out the lowest setting on the controller that the motor would start in both directions, and this little fella is the one that has done the best. They were all pretty good, but what I did find was a variability between directions. Look at the way that starts gently and then sort of change direction. See how he stalls? Go the other way, he'll tick over quite nicely. That way he stalls, so you have to give just a fraction more. I've given a little bit of oil to the front bearing, and there's no way to oil the rear bearing, and I'd be interested to see what's in there when we open it. But yeah, that's going to be the motor that I'm going to fit to the Terrier. So we'll crack on with that process now and I'll let you see what happens. Okay, we've stripped the body off and got the cradle ready to detach. You saw me do that on the first video, so let's just carefully lift this out. And it just goes over there. There's our little motor. And we'll just make sure that we attach the wires to the same place on the new one. We'll take one wire off each side of the motor first of all. Actually, no, we won't. We'll take both wires off, but we'll note where they were. Now, we'll move the new motor into place. Alright, I'm going to put a drop of solder on the new connections. Right, let's have a look. Yeah, that's in place. So we'll just reassemble, re-lubricate, and we'll see if there's any difference. Okay, everything's back together. The hardest job I found was making sure the wires thread round, keeping that bit of black tape that they've got in covering those connections that go down to the body, to the chassis, and just folding all the wires in because you don't want the body to be foul of that. So it's all in place, and do you know what? I'm confident enough to fit the body, and we'll give it a test and see what happens. Right, other than to confirm the polarity to make sure the motor was in the right way around, I haven't run it at all, so this is the first time it runs in anger. I'm going to turn the controller up very slowly. Ha! Look at that. Try the other way. Good Lord, what a difference. So that motor won't have run in yet. And they might be simple motors and have these metal brushes, but they do seem able to produce quite reasonable performance. How long they will last is another question. I mean, metal motor brushes, isn't that going back to made in Hong Kong toys of the 70s? But it's certainly a new lease of life for this Terrier. We'll strip the motor down next. So first things first, my worm puller does have a 1mm puller, but as you can see it must just be on the very end of the spindle of the motor, and that just goes in. So what I've had to do using an old 1mm drill is make a little plug to fit into there, and then hopefully that can push down on it and we'll pull the worm off. So let's see how this all works. I've not used this one before, it's a new one. So I know that that goes in there. You can tell I haven't used this tool before. There's a little Allen key there which will hold that piece, the pusher for the puller inside, so it won't keep wobbling about, and we can then get hold of things and get on with the job. So now let's see if we can slot that in again. It does help if you can see, doesn't it? Well, I hope this is in focus. I can see a bit of a problem because the little peg that I made to go in might flex, but we'll just try. It can't have a lot of hold on that little worm, so we just twist this in. I've used a bigger pusher in there. I'm quite aware that you'll not be able to see this because the light's poor in here, but we'll go ahead and try. Oh, I can feel it moving, it's pushing it in, and the motor and the worm are free. Tiny little spindle. Do you know, I think the Chinese ones have got a bigger spindle. Anyway, the motor comes out from the back like this and threads out. Now there we are. I've now got the worm and the little plastic carrier to replace. Oh, we've got a set of figures on the back of the motor. 200414. Hold on a minute, just going to check those Chinese ones. Right, so that's the Hornby one, and that's one of the Chinese ones. Slightly different numbering. They're quoted as 6 to 12 volt when you buy them, but look, the Chinese one's got a much longer spindle, so the worm will go on further and be easy to get on and off if required. So the Chinese motor, I don't know if you can see it, is marked as MN6FB08F and then 0556KA, but otherwise ostensibly they're identical and will fit in. Let's just try that, couldn't we? It won't have the little bit of foam black rubber there, but we can certainly do that. Yeah, there he is, he's in there, and we could push the worm on, but because you can't get access to the back bearing, I'm wondering how you do push the worm on. I mean, is that a metal plate at the back of that Hornby motor? Is that something you can lean on? Because you need to poke something in there when you push down in the vise to push the worm on. Otherwise you could cause all sorts of damage. But anyway, that's for another time. We're going to go ahead now and see if we can open this little fella up and see if we can work out what could have gone wrong. Alright, very close up bit of filming now. Very awkward to film and work, but we've got the worm off so we can push the armature out and preserve the brushes arrangement at the top here. Hopefully this is going to stay in focus for you. I'm just going to lever up the little tabs. Camera. I'm hoping that you're going to see this at the same time as me, so I'm just pushing the armature out, and here we go, we're nearly there. It did what I didn't want it to do. Oh well, we tried. The magnets are so powerful in there. Right, this is the tiny little armature, and as you can see it's got an extremely black commutator, and then inside here are the brushes, and they are just three little fingers I'm going to have to take a picture of this so that I can show you properly on the video. Instead of taking a picture, we're trying to catch it using these tweezers and holding the camera in focus so you can see the brushes such that they are 3 little fingers of plain metal. If they're precious metal, I really don't know. Don't look it. Maybe they got a dab of something on them. But this is the sealed end, so we can have a look at that in a minute and work out whether that would allow us to push with it. And then the armature itself, I mean, how tiny is this little thing? Again, lots of black on that commutator. Is that something they've put on, or is it a result of grease getting on it? I don't know. I've never seen such a small little armature. So all I can think is that there must be, with such a tiny thing, such tiny tolerances. I mean, this is the size of my dirty great fingers compared with this little delicate thing. Now all 4 of the new motors and the Chinese ones are tested better than this little fella was, but I'm blowed if I can see why that was. It must just be down to tolerances. They're just unlucky to get a duff one. But it's nonetheless fascinating to see inside, isn't it? I hope that's been instructive to some of you, and also you now know where to go to get your motors and spares and pay the small amount of postage and a reasonable. You don't mind paying a reasonable amount, do you? I mean, you know, someone's got to make a profit of it. They've got to make a living the same as we all have. There's no need for these terribly inflated prices. But I ask you, how do you make this for 69p? I mean, it is so fine. It's got to be wound. I mean, alright, it's only a 3-pole, but it's still got to be wound. It's all got to be soldered up. It's got to be assembled. You've got the really strong magnets in the little case there. 69p, you think, how? Kind of wonder if somebody's financing it, really, buying currency in or something. Who knows? But anyway, that's the end of this little service video. So I hope it's been interesting to some of you. My terrier's certainly a lot happier, and got a great little shunter now for the London South Western era, and I've got some spare motors as well. Take care now. Bye.